Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Red Bra Project YouTube channel. This is episode 37 of our Woman Crush Wednesday series, and you're probably noticing there's just two of us here tonight, and that is because I have the pleasure, the honor of getting to interview my partner and co-creator of the Red Bra Project, Renee. Hi, Renee. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Shawna. I love the red dress.
Thank you. Lady in red tonight.
Yeah, looking great. And it looks like we're hotel to hotel.
Yeah, I'm finally like you. I'm traveling. You have a much prettier backdrop. I've got a lamp.
No, I have the lamp, but in full disclosure, I've rearranged my room a little bit so I'd have something behind me. So this plant is quite
So
light.
we were going to talk about your decorating skills, but we can maybe get to that in a minute.
No, those are horrendous, trust me. That's why, hotel living, so.
So back in what I would call season one, but we don't really have seasons, early episode, Renee sat down and interviewed me. I shared with her about my son, Gavin, who has autism. And tonight I get the opportunity to turn the tables and talk to her about her life and let you guys get to know her a little bit better. If you've got this.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because we switched, our view from the camera, and now, I'm kind of in the hot seat, quote unquote. So.
Yeah. So before we get started, tell our guests just a little bit more about you that they might not know, things maybe you haven't shared before.
Yes. So grew up in Ohio. So grew up, spent many years there, graduated KSU. That's right. After that, I kind of fled the country. I went to Australia because I wasn't ready to jump into the real life stuff right away and the job and everything like that. So I spent some time exploring over there and came back about 6 months later, and then started doing the job search and all of that. And after a very long, windy path, I wound up into the wild world of events. So I am a nationwide event manager. So I travel the country about 10 months out of the year, managing live events. So wearing many different hats, switching them out, responsible for custom vehicles, staff, marketing, doing the event, all of the stuff behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. So keeps me on my toes. And when I'm not traveling for work, I actually live in a motor coach. So we made this jump a few years ago. We got tired of spending money on a place that we were never at. Literally would come home from being on the road and it still smelled brand new. We're like, what is this? It's great. It's amazing, but we're just throwing money out the window. So we said it would either be the best idea ever or the worst thing we could ever do. So we really held on to, well, if we're making the memories and we're enjoying it, we're going to stay with it and kind of go in with an open heart and a grain of salt. So here we are a few years later, and we're not back into traditional kind of apartment style living. But at one point I did live out of Seattle, Pacific Northwest. Has my heart, like 110%, love that part of the country. Was based out of Nashville for a little bit. Right now I'm kind of based out of Chattanooga. So Tennessee girl, no, I'm not going to try to give you any kind of Southern accent because I just can't do it. So I still have my Northern roots in me, but and so this is where I am today. So.
Oh, so much information. I don't think our guests or our followers knew a lot of that. And there's just so much in there. Even the Australia piece, I don't think I knew that. So how exciting that you lived abroad and at such a young age too, like taking that risk. And what would you give advice for people that want to do that or have thought about living abroad?
Just do it. Like if you think about it too much, you will talk yourself out of it, but it is literally the best time of your life to go into it. Everything else can wait. I chatted to somebody, I was on the phone with him. I never even met him. It was in my job at the time. And he had told me that's what he encouraged his 3 kids to do, was he pretty much forced them all upon graduation to choose one part of the country, of the globe, and go there out of the country. And so it was like their gift to them. And he planted that seed. And I happened to talk to him in my last semester of college, and I was 110% on board. So I think I talked to him. I think I dropped the big news at Thanksgiving dinner to my family in true Renee form. I just kind of, here it is, throw it all on the table. And I packed my bags and left right after graduation in December. So.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I never knew that, I don't think. So that's really, look, I'm learning things tonight too.
Yeah, so definitely don't overthink it. Just go. I took out an extended loan. Money's money. Just go and do it. Get it out of your soul, and maybe you'll discover something new. So yeah, definitely, if it's on your heart, you got to go do it.
You remind me a lot of our guest Tiffany, who did the tiny house philosophy. Do you feel many days like you live in a tiny house that's just on wheels?
You made my 1.5 suitcases I've lugged around for years. Yes.
True.
Yes, I've taken tiny house to a whole new perspective. But let me tell you, it really helps with your closet and clothes budget.
I know. I have to learn from both you and Tiffany because I buy new hangers. Like I said that night, you guys are good about getting rid of things. I just buy new hangers.
Yes.
So I am excited because I've asked you to share something with our followers that I know about you that is really personal and I know is a vulnerable share for you. But I think when I learned about it, it was so just telling of what you've been through and who the person you are. And so I'll share a little bit and then let you go in. Is that we were discussing, you know, potentially having to go in for surgery for different things. And you shared with me a surgery that you went through that was elective, but maybe didn't go the way you planned. And so I'll kind of throw the ball to you and let you tell your story.
Thank you so much. And yeah, one of the things that just kind of coming from the Red Bra Project to all of our viewers, Shawna and I thought it was really important that we shared stories that were very, you know, impactful in our lives and were just those red bra moments. And with Shawna sharing about her son and Gavin and going through autism and what it's like being on the parenting side and, you know, raising your kids and just being a working mom. I mean, it was so great. And I hope that my share touches people as well. And so to be completely honest, I've never done this on a public, like, you know, community or platform. So I'm just going to dive right in and word vomit and see what happens. So
You're going to be great.
about 5 years ago, I made the decision to get LASIK, a LASIK procedure. So I did plenty of research in the years leading up to it. And I mean, you know, LASIK's been around for a fair amount of time and the technology has really evolved. And, you know, by this point, I think LASIK had been out for over 10 years, probably longer, maybe 20 years. But so I did my research and I had my doctors narrowed down to a couple different doctors, and being able to travel, I kind of have the opportunity to expand my reach a little bit more just because it's a little bit easier for me and I know some of the areas. So I did my research and it was really important to me that I did as much as I could before I went in. And so I made the decision. My vision wasn't horrible by any stretch of the imagination. It was, I think, a negative 3.50. It was getting, you know, contacts were in my eyes less and less as they were becoming more red and aggravated and, you know, the basic contact problems. I look back now and I'm like, really? So, but, yeah, sometimes, you know, it's hindsight's 2020, no pun
I was
intended.
just going to say hindsight's always 20, which
Yes.
no pun intended there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be doing this a better thing. I'm going to be doing it for the health of my eyes. I'll get these contacts out every day. So chose my doctor based on his experience and credentials. I didn't really care about all of the marketing and the hype and, you know, all of this stuff. And we hear commercials every single day on the radio. And so, you know, my disclaimer out there is that this is my personal story. And so while my personal story may not be like the next person, and there are so many people that have had wonderful experiences with LASIK, and I'm truly happy for you. And that is wonderful. And there's many people that are in worse situations than I am. And all of our stories are different and we own our feelings. So I'm really happy for the people it's worked out for, but this is the other side. And so went in for the surgery and, you know, I did all of the good student things. So they told me, you know, you have to be out of contact X amount of weeks. I bumped it up an extra week. I did the research to like take or eat all of the anti-inflammatory foods.
You got it. There you go.
So that way, you know, I could stack the deck in my favor with all that kind of stuff for the healing process, and, you know, was really getting the amount of sleep that I needed and all that stuff. So anyhow, I went in for the surgery, and it literally did take, and not even, you know, surgery, but procedure. And so it did take, you know, 5 minutes once you're there. And I ended up coming out and, you know, they are like, go home, close your eyes, rest. You have to go pick up your drops right afterwards. So there's a lot that you're kind of, you know, you're going along the process, but then, you know, you come in the next day for a follow-up appointment. And it's at that point when everything should be starting to appear to heal and look better. So after I was done with the surgery on my way home, I felt kind of a gut sinking feeling that something wasn't right. And I had a burning sensation, and it wasn't in just one eye, it was two eyes. And so I'd called them. They're like, no, sometimes this is normal, no problem. Just get those drops and put them right in. Great. Put those drops in, closed my eyes. I was still awake. So, you want to open your eyes and see what the changes are and things like that. And went home and took a nap, or tried to, so that way my eyes were shut and they could heal and, do what they needed to do naturally. Woke up the next morning and I remember looking and kind of getting the sleepy out of your eyes, and like, well, I can't really see the clock. Well, maybe that's just playing tricks on me. I can't really see the TV. I can't see the faces. Okay, no worries. Maybe, it's just a day later, And so I go in for my follow-up, and I expressed my concerns to the Institute, and they said, you know what, don't even worry. Just remain calm. Keep taking your drops. Sometimes, people, you don't see a change for 2 to 3 days, no problem. They gave me these eye patches to wear over my eyes and put tape on. That way you don't accidentally rub or anything like that. And so, of course, being the good little student I was trying to be, I was diligent and I wore those to bed for like a week. And so, again, that sinking feeling just wouldn't go away, but I'm a very big mind over matter person. And so, I'm like, I got to push those feelings out. I've got to focus on that. It's going to heal. Everything's going to be fine, with a prayer and a hope. And, so I get a week into it, and I go back, and I still haven't seen any improvement. And I have bruises on my eyes from where they were grasped, which is normal apparently. So they reassured me that was normal. But my eyes don't hurt, but I can't see. I still can't see. So with every passing day, and this is 5 days in already, I'm like, okay, they reassured me, keep using those drops. Just, maybe you're a slow healer. We're going to see you in 10 days. Everybody's different. So it was one of those things that when I look back, it was baby steps along the way. And when I have reached out to other post-LASIK complication people, and they've talked about their experience and things like that, this is pretty common. And we do heal at different rates. Absolutely. And there's some people that took a month or longer to heal, and they were okay. But basically I received that sentence for about 6 months, and that was driving about $250 or $250, I wish, 250 miles, like round trip, to go and see the treating facility, because I wanted to stay with the same place that treated me, because they knew my story and I'm building a history with them. And about 5.5 months in, I just needed answers. And I mean, basically, I could see when it's not like you were completely blind or anything like that, but it was just kind of like looking through goggles. So it was definitely like steamy and murky a little bit. And now if I squinted, I could see. And so that was the difference. And so, it did get better a little bit with each day. The inflammation went down, the redness went away, that kind of thing. And finally got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just give me my prescription, guys. And if I have to fix it with contacts or with glasses, no big deal, right? So I go in and they gave me my prescription. Okay, great. So I spend about 75% of my time outdoors. This is all my own out-of-pocket expenses and things. I'm like, okay, I'm going to order prescription sunglasses. I'm going to start there. Because my eyes are still healing, which is what they told me, which is why they were hesitant to give me a prescription, because it changes so much. But I needed an answer because, I needed to bring some clarity to the picture, right? So my sunglasses arrived, and I remember the day. It was super hot. I was sitting outside. I got them. I opened up the box. I put them on. I look around. I take them off. I look at the glasses. I look at the lenses. Like, what? I look at the box and the paper, and it shows the prescription. And I put them on. And so I called the company. I'm like, I don't know if the prescription's actually in these. I don't see a difference. It actually may look worse. They reassured me that it was the prescription that I ordered. I said, okay. So at that point, I went and I found an optometrist that was just nearby, because I said, I need to get an outside opinion, and I needed to just start somewhere. So I go in, and he takes a look and looks at my scar tissue and my corneas, and he says, this is not my expertise, and so, but based on what I see, I believe that there is something else going on here, and based off of what you're sharing with me. And at that point, it was 5 months, but I actually felt relief just because somebody was listening to me. I wasn't hearing the, go home, close your eyes, heal, stick to the eye drops. You just got to give it time. You got to be patient, So
I mean, you must have felt like you were living in some surreal experience. Every call you make, no, that's normal. No, that's your prescription. Like, I can't even imagine where you're like, I'm not crazy. This is normal.
Yeah, for sure. And I was like, hallelujah. All right, somebody's hearing me. So I end up doing a little bit more research and expanding my kind of professional people that I was going to see, because I wanted an outside actual opinion from another professional who does LASIK procedures. And I was in his office, and they did my topography maps and everything. And him and his director came in, and they said the words to me. So nobody's ever told you what this looks like, or what they're seeing on these topography images. And I said, no. I said, I've heard a lot of everything I've explained. And they're like, okay, well, what we're seeing here is what is called central islands. And I said, I've never heard that before. And so he went on to explain to me that central islands are basically steepening of the corneas. So if you think about a volcano and how it comes to the top, your cornea is normally nice and rounded, and that's how light reflects off of it. So that way, you can see, and all of that happens, all of the magical science behind it. So my corneas are now steepened to the top, and not in one eye, but in both eyes. And so while that was just kind of like, I was just sitting there in awe. And so I said, well, what does this mean? And he said, well, what this means is that your vision is not correctable with regular lenses or with glasses any longer, because the shape of my cornea has changed. I said, okay.
And the shape changed because of LASIK, or it would have happened over time anyways? Do you know that?
So this is where the big gray area comes in, because, with any elective surgery, that's why you signed a whole book full of papers. So, but no, I mean, something would have to cause the corneas to steepen.
Okay.
And so the fact that it happened in not just one eye, but both eyes. So, as I moved on from this point, I dug deeper into the why. Why did this happen? How did this happen? I dug into the legal aspect of it. I spent weeks and months while I'm trying to find a solution, but also sharing my story with 15 different attorneys and lawyers, and just telling them what had happened, because something wasn't setting right. Because it's one thing if a particle or a piece of dust flies in and it impacts one cornea, but the fact that I had both corneas, and of course I have an astigmatism and all of that stuff. So went through a lot of ups and downs at that point, but I was so glad to have a diagnosis almost. So that way I knew I could start somewhere. And this was 6 months into post LASIK, dealing with life and working through stuff and trying to make things work and all of that. So that's where the 6-month journey started. And that kind of kicked off 2.5 years of an absolute roller coaster of between the time I went researching and deciding if I was going to take the legal route to finding solutions. And so I went through several different solutions, and, some, I mean, little hard contacts, that's how hard contacts first came out. Those brought 20/20 vision, but they were so painful because my corneas are uneven and they sat on the surface. And I mean, my eyes were bloodshot for like 2.5 years. And then of course, it's not that I work, in a dark cave somewhere where I'm not with people, but you have the outside perspective too, where, I couldn't use my computer for a long time because looking at and trying to find the right, kind of squint and things like that. Or, I would have guests come up to me sometimes and say, oh my gosh, do you have pink eye? Well, what's wrong? Wow, late night last night. Or, sometimes, people don't know what they don't know, and they're just asked because they're curious. So yeah, there was the emotional side on top of, the legal side on top of the finding a solution side. So.
I mean, how do you dig deep through that and persevere and keep going? I mean, it clearly can play a mental game with you, because it's frustrating on so many levels because you're not getting the answers, and it's your eyes, you get two. And so I mean, how do you, for our guests and for people that struggle with, pushing through when they are hit with adversity, how did you dig deep?
Well, you bring up a good point that we get two eyes. And, now that I look back, I'm like, what were you thinking, Renee? I mean, you're going to make an elective surgery and, sear hundreds of thousands of neurons and hope that everything heals well. I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody get a hold of this girl. But, we make the best decisions that we can. And one of the things that I was dealing with on top of all that was the anger and the frustration and being so pissed off at myself for making what I felt at the time, of course, was such a stupid decision. But you know what? It was educated. I researched. I trusted the resources and talked to people. So I did the best that I could, and I eventually had to get to the point where I released that. And it was tough. I mean, some days I would come home and just literally, I mean, it was a downward spiral, to be completely honest with you. I mean, by the time you hit year 1 and year 2, and yes, there are that, like I said, and I'm going to make a blog post and there's more specificities in there. However you say that word, but there's more kind of
your words tonight.
Yeah. I don't know what that's all about. So I'll put that all in the blog post, but the journey, there was a little bits and pieces of hope along the way. And, when I got into those hard lenses, it was like, oh my gosh, mind over matter. I don't care how painful this is. This is great. I can see. But then, the pain increased and the light sensitivity was there. And, there's just so many complications that people aren't aware of because marketing does a great job of LASIK. You're in, you're out, you drive to work the next day. We've done hundreds of thousands of millions of eyes and, no problems. And when you do dig deeper, there are so many more LASIK complications than what people are aware of. And that's why I'm sharing this story. And it's not to put, fear or to scare anybody. It's just to educate, because education is power.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, why you are sharing. I think obviously you're not telling anyone don't do it. I mean, and you did your homework too. Much like when I kind of talked about Gavin, we did early intervention and he's thriving. That's not everybody's results. And so I think these are two perfect examples of just the way that life kind of gives us these twists and turns. But I think it's so great that you're sharing. And, what do you kind of hope our guests do take from this, that either know somebody that's considering themselves or have family members that maybe have gone through this too? What can you advise them?
So first of all, I think that it's really important. No, that's okay. It's really important to come, there's all this stuff that happened in emotion and feelings and stuff like that. But then it all came down to one pivotal point that it was literally, 2.5 years. And I said, you know what? I am at my wit's end. I'm exhausted mentally. I am so depressed. Eric, who is my significant other, was like a complete rock for me. But I remember sitting outside again. I'm outside a lot. What can I say? I think I was a dog or a squirrel in a former life. But I was sitting outside and I was like, you know what? I'm not getting anywhere legally. This is taking away from my time and energy that I need to find other solutions other than what's working for me right now to see. I know this isn't it for me. And I made a choice at that moment to let go of trying to find out if I can do anything legally and how that would look and what that would look like, to only focusing on solutions. And literally, it's so crazy because what you put out into the universe, when you tell the universe you made up your mind, it gives you amazing opportunities. And that's one thing that I want our viewers to walk away from, that whatever you're struggling with, whether it's LASIK or, personal things going on or career or family, whatever it is, you really got to make a decision yourself about what you want and where you want it to go. And then there's going to be these doors that open. And it was at that point, it gives me goosebumps. But Eric had found a woman, one of the first LASIK patients out west. And I reached out to her. She was gracious enough to get on the phone with me, listen to my story, wished me the best, and asked me if I ever heard of something called scleral lenses. And I said, no, that's never been brought up to me. Even in all of my aftercare and going back and seeing, I was still seeing the doctors that, the procedure was done with. And so, I went on a couple weeks later, I was doing an event up in Rochester, New York area. I was checking out of a grocery store and I wore my sunglasses all of the time inside. I happened to take them off to pay, to count my money. I glanced at the gentleman behind me and he said, excuse me, miss. He's like, do you have an infection? And I'm not being rude. I'm just asking because he was actually a very well-connected person in the eye. Yeah. That area. And
or something.
Yes. And, I said, I'll chat with you after we check out. And so I took 5 minutes after we checked out. I shared the bullet points of my story with him. And he said to me, has anybody said for you or told you to try scleral lenses? And I'm like, oh my gosh, universe, thank you. Thank you, God. Because within, a small amount of time during that summer, I heard that word twice, but it wasn't after I was like, stop your shit, Renee. You got to change gears. You got to let all of that bad stuff go because you are so drained. You can't focus. And then this was an opportunity. So I met with an incredible doctor in Nashville. So if anybody is struggling with post-LASIK complications out there and you're looking for hope, I am open to conversation. I'm open to sharing the story. I'm open just to listening to you because I understand what you're going through. And like I said, all of our stories are different. And I would be more than happy to connect you to the doctor that introduced me to the scleral lenses. So
I have chills. I feel like the universe part and then just the human nature of that person talking to you. I think it's beautiful. It's those moments that you want to remember in life because it shows that I'm sure it was awkward for him to ask you, a complete stranger, what was going on, but it was happening for a reason. And I think so many times we look past that and this is just, chills, seriously. I'm just so thank you for sharing this. And I don't know if there's any closing things you want to say. I know I kind of asked you to do this and be vulnerable. And it's a story of strength. And you really teach all of us that there's a reason to move forward and not to hang on to that negative. And so if you want to finish out with the lenses, sorry, I kind of cut you off, but
no, you're perfect. And thank you for supporting me, definitely supporting me and cheering me on through this, because I couldn't talk about this for 2.5 years without just bawling. I put tissues here just in case, but the cool thing about scleral lenses, a little side note, because you got to find some humor in it, is that they're big plastic discs. So when your eyes well up, no, it's tears, it just holds it in and it gives it kind of a nice moisturizing effect so all the tears don't fall. But I do have elephant tears. So anyhow, long story short with that.
Your mascara is always going to be on point.
So yeah, 2.5 years, I couldn't talk about it to anybody, not even my family members, without getting choked up. So so I guess I'll answer that question. This is a huge red bra moment. And I appreciate you cheering me on and supporting me, because this story does have to get out there to help educate others. I talk about this in my blog post about some people that didn't find the hope when they needed it and they ran out of time. And that's not what anybody should do.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to switch the gear a little bit so that we don't have the moisturizing going on too much there for you. But you mentioned this is your Red Bra moment. Talk to our audience a minute about the Red Bra Project, because really this weighed on your heart. We are what we are because you are just an innovative, creative, inspiring woman, which people should have picked up on already tonight. But talk to us just a tiny bit about that. You shared this with your Red Bra moment, but what keeps you motivated and what inspired you about this project?
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. What inspired me was just being able to go out there and empower others through the power of stories. And it's funny that I'm sharing this story here, but there's so many different stories, and one story may hit home with one person, but not necessarily resonate with somebody else. But somebody else's story may, even though it's the same topic or the same idea. So we're all different. We're all made up of different parts, and all of our stories, while they're similar, they're very uniquely different. And if we can come together and share our stories, but not only that, empower the person sharing their stories, it's an incredible, beautiful, ripple effect that you get on both sides. And it's just freaking badass. So.
And I think that's such a good point too. People don't always know what we bring, what luggage we're bringing, our baggage. And so sometimes when we take these vulnerable moments like you have tonight to share, it really humanizes us and shows that, the Instagram, everything isn't always perfect. And this is why we are where we are today, because of these other struggles that have made you the strong woman that you are.
For sure. I mean, we all go through the things for different reasons, and, getting through that adversity and challenges and sharing that literally pumps each other up, and it's so exciting. So.
Well, I think your story is inspiring. I'm excited to have you share more in the blog with our guests so that if there are people that are struggling with this, considering it, I mean, I don't even know if you knew all the risks before you went in, like that these post-LASIK sites existed. This is helpful information for anybody just considering any elective surgery.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's always two sides, many more sometimes, to a story and to, a choice that you make. And it's really good just to know both. And, another, not pun intended, but not to go in blindly because, you really, I mean, I don't know what's up. I'm not like a pun person either, but I've got a ton of them. But
Got the stand-up roll going today.
but no, it's so important. And to make that educated decision and, do what your heart tells you is what the, as cheesy and cliche as it is, so.
Oh, I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so grateful that you were willing to sit down with me and with everybody here that is watching and will be watching to hear your story, because I think whether or not it's this specific kind of like surgery, but it's going to resonate with people. Just your strength to persevere. So thank you. Thanks. And I think the quote I picked for you is more fitting than ever with all of your puns tonight. So, which I had no idea would be happening. But as you know, we close every show with a quote. And mine for you is, when life gives you a million reasons to smile and break down and cry, show life that you have a million reasons to smile and laugh and stay strong.
That's so good. I love it.
I just feel like you laughed at it tonight. You were like, you know what? I'm not going to be angry anymore. And that's just, you have my heart.
Thank you. You have mine as well. And it was really good. And yeah, I'm loving that red dress.
No, thank you. Red bra moment. So for those of you that are not our followers, we don't know why, but come on and subscribe and follow us over where the party's happening on our Instagram at the Red Bra Project. You can go visit us on our website, theredbraproject.com, or you can subscribe here, hit that bell, and the notification will be updated weekly when you see our new videos go live.
That's
so
right.
We hope you have yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
No,
all of this stuff.
That's right.
Join the Red Bra Project.
For sure. Come. We want to hear your story too. Or if you have anyone you want to nominate who you immediately thought of, send them to us.
Yes, please. We are looking to celebrate all of you. And really, as Renee and I have both shared, our stories are so unique and individual, and all of our guests have been. And everybody has a story that has value and purpose, and we're more than happy to feature you, friend, family member, on this platform. So with that said, we'll close out tonight with a wonderful Woman Crush Wednesday. I'm going to be crushing on her more than just this Wednesday, but we hope you guys have a great night, and thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a great night. Thank you all.